This is the perfect movie to play at 1.25 speed in a smaller window while you watch a basketball game.
Okay. You know what? I've got to say, it must have been that I was just in the right mood. I found myself way more engrossed in this movie than I expected to be.
Really?
Yeah, I watched it on full screen. Like, I definitely went on my phone sometimes, but like, I watched it on TV. I set my gay little LED lamps to fireplace mode.
Wow.
And I had a nice time watching an old-fashioned Thanksgiving.
You know,
I really did.
It seemed like a movie that would hit all the marks for me, but it just really didn't. And I think it had to do with the amount of women in this movie, particularly in speaking roles, and the lack of historical figures being portrayed.
Right. So are you saying you would have liked to make, if you could rewrite the movie, would you want it to be about Napoleon?
I think maybe the founding fathers all living together.
or about what's her name who made the first flag, who sewed the
Betsy
first.
Ross.
Betsy Ross. That would have been fun.
That would have been cool.
Why couldn't we have a movie about Betsy Ross? No, it's true. Nobody in an old-fashioned Thanksgiving was a very famous American historical figure. Instead, the movie centers on a fictional family. The hero or the protagonist at least, is Tilly, short for Matilda. She lives in a small house, a small farmhouse, with her mother, Mary, and her sister and young brother. Here's the first thing I loved about this movie. It's obvious to me straight from the beginning, even before the plot of the very rich grandmother comes in, that the mom is LARPing. The design of this movie was so much that, I know, it's a Hallmark movie, but I love them doing the we're so poor. Everyone is beautiful face full of makeup, perfect skin, clean, immaculate clothes.
Yeah.
And they just live in a house with wooden, unpainted furniture, which, by the way, nowadays would be insanely expensive to do.
Yeah. I was just looking at office chairs earlier.
Yeah.
Them shit's expensive.
That shit's expensive, and it wasn't even artisanally crafted.
No.
By the mute man who helps around the house with you.
Named Irma Vep. Works in the farmhouse.
Yes. Now, this already sort of LARPy situation is made even more LARPy when we learn that this whole time, for some reason, that this family has been on their hands and knees in a cold shack. Somehow, Matilda discovers they have been secretly related to an extremely rich woman who lives in a palace and seems to want for nothing. First discussion question for the boys. How mad would you be at your mom if you found out one day, years into your life, you were secretly related to a billionaire?
I'd be a little peeved.
I would be so fucking pissed.
I would be pretty annoyed.
I would be so pissed.
Yeah.
You let me sleep on a wooden board for 15 years?
I have an uncle who is not a billionaire.
Yeah.
But he is extremely successful in all of his business endeavors.
Yes.
And for their entire life, my dad cannot keep a healthy relationship with him. So I see zero benefit from...
God damn it, Dad! Pull it together.
Yeah,
it really can't you guys just
really hurts?
Can't you just pull it together just for the?
Come on.
Come on.
Yeah.
Well, that's honestly sort of the case with Mary and her grandmother.
I will say this guy also told me I would amount to nothing because I missed going to a weekly lunch with my grandma one time.
Well, and look at you now. You go to a weekly podcast with your friends. So obviously he was wrong.
When grandma gets a podcast, I'll show up.
I'll show up. Well, you know what? Actually, the story you're telling kind of reminds me a lot of the movie, because it does seem like, we have a complicated and fractured relationship between basically family members who could not hold it together and keep things civil for the money.
Yeah.
Matilda, or Tilly, played by Tatiana Maslany, writes a letter to her grandmother how does she discover she has a secret grandmother?
don't know. 23andMe?
Secret grandmother.
She has a secret grandmother.
This movie was so old, it was probably called like 12andMe back then.
Man, there were so many like long sequences of her just narrating herself writing letters.
Yeah. Hallmark really stretching that budget out.
Yeah. Well, her goal was to be her dream was to be a writer.
Right.
Up until she gets engaged. Spoiler alert. To which another member of the family says, "But I thought you wanted to be a writer." And she said, "Yeah, that was before I got engaged."
That's literally the end of the movie. that was really funny.
That was why I led off with the what is Little Women like? Because this does not hold up.
Right. That's a good point. No, straight up, she literally says to her sister, "Oh, that was ages ago."
Yeah.
Meaning, in the movie, it was not. It was like hours ago.
Yeah.
But I found myself thinking, now listen, just again, to sort of skip the ending of the movie. This whole time, her poor hoveling family, who are obviously super rich and LARPing is poor, the whole time she has been flirting with this very rich male friend of hers.
Yeah.
And, he seems to like her for her, all this stuff. There's never any conflict in their relationship. It seems right from the start that they are going to be married. Girl, you're going to marry a rich guy, not have to work. Why don't you be a writer?
Yeah.
That's like,
how it works in
I can't think
real
of
life.
Yes. I literally can't think of a better thing for you to do.
Yeah.
As a woman who's going to marry into a family so rich that they have servants.
Yeah.
Girl, you're not going to have to cook or clean. Write your Jezebel articles.
Yeah.
R.I.P. Jezebel. They just shut down today.
It was as true then as it is true now. If you want to be a writer, comedian, especially improv comedian, basically anything in the arts, just marry a rich person.
Exactly.
No one will ever know.
They're out there.
They are in your area.
They're in your area.
They're looking to fuck.